I was like, I don't want to get stuck here. I don't want to spend the rest of my days as a flight attendant. After all, I had already studied, done my undergrad, and I wanted to kind of put that to use. At the time, I felt like it was important to kind of prove myself to the world that I could be more than just a flight attendant in the skies. I think differently about these things now, but yeah. So I came to London very excited for my next big adventure, my next chapter. But it was brutal. Like, I had a horrible time. I really, really hated it here. It's freezing. The windows are blowing cold air in. And like, how do people live like this? What is this? And I think it was like by keeping such a firm grip on my life there that I wasn't really giving my life here the chance to like develop in its own right. Because like everything had to weigh up to the friendships that I had back home, which obviously I'd had for years. So like, it's not realistic to, I don't know, go from 0 to 100 in a new city. I don't really worry about judgment. If anything, I crave it. And like, I want people to think that this is too much so that maybe they can go and just like loosen up a little and have a bit more fun. Creativity inspires creativity and connects creativity. And then you get more creativity, and it's just beautiful. It's just a never-ending cycle of abundance and beauty. Hi, I'm Luisa. I work as a product manager at a tech company, but I'm here to talk about kind of my creative expression and how I define creativity and what that looks like for me. I was born in Switzerland, lived between Switzerland and the US when I was a kid, and then studied journalism in Switzerland, did a few jobs in journalism. Then I became a flight attendant for a few years and decided that I wanted to go back to school after that to do my master's in data journalism. And now I work in the data visualization space as a product manager for a data visualization tool. After finishing my journalism degree in Switzerland, I thought I had my path all figured out. I thought I was going to be a journalist. I did a couple of internships for a local newspaper and a music magazine. But I always found the writing process kind of excruciating. It was kind of like turning myself inside out with every piece that I had to write, because it was like, it demanded so much of me and my creativity, and I really wanted to do a good job and like impress people and myself, and just the journey of getting there, like every single day for every article, was just quite painful and stressful. And it just kind of really took a toll on me. And it was like, I don't know if I can do this for a living, like every single day. Like, I don't know if this is going to get easier, because it didn't seem to be getting easier. So when my parents left Switzerland, they moved back to the States. I'm half American. When I was about 20, I was just finishing up my bachelor's, and I was just a bit overwhelmed with this prospect of kind of low-paying internships in this stressful journalism environment. And my parents had just left, so I was like, I'm going to try and get something with a bit more security. I want to kind of travel and figure out what exactly I want to do with myself. So I decided to become a flight attendant. My sister had been a flight attendant a few years before, and I had a few friends that were doing it. It's actually quite a common thing in Switzerland to go work for the Swiss airline for a few years, like before uni, between uni. So yeah, I applied, I got the job, and it was like the dream. I loved it so much. It was just like everything and more that I ever expected. It was kind of just like having fun all the time. Like, it didn't even feel like a job. I would kind of get to fly to some amazing place like Tokyo, you know, hand out some food on the way there. Then you get there, then you have like 3 or 4 days off to explore and do whatever you want. And then you fly back, and then you have another 4 days off when you're home. So I was just like loving it, making the most of it on every layover, like completely overexerting myself to the point where I was just so exhausted all the time. Sometimes the pilot would have to come like get me in my room because I would have missed crew call and stuff like that, because I was just always overdoing it, like just trying to pack way too much into these layovers. But yeah, I would do the coolest things, like kind of always on my own, like a bit away from the crew, like while they were going to the Cheesecake Factory, like they did every New York layover or Chicago, I would be like planning some different sort of layover for myself. So for example, in Chicago, there was this artist that I had been following on Instagram who he found potholes and he filled them with mosaics. Many of these mosaics were of ice creams. So he had like different series that he would just go and fill potholes. So he was like a pothole mosaic artist. Very niche, very cool. I was very into it. So I just spent one of my layovers like trying to find as many of these potholes as possible. And that was just like the sort of thing that I would get up to. Or when I was in Tokyo and had a bit of a weird experience because I thought I would try couch surfing because our crew hotel was a bit out of town. So I thought I would try couch surfing, and it ended up being more of like a dating pool than I expected. So people seemed to think that I was on there for like reasons of dating, which was not right. But anyway, I kind of was just coming out of one of these weird experiences when I bumped into this woman at the entrance to a shrine in one of the parks in Tokyo. And I asked her if I should take a picture of her in front of the shrine, and she somehow was like quite smitten with me. I think maybe she was like touched by me reaching out and like by the fact that I spoke English, and she seemed to be learning English. And then we ended up just spending the whole day together. She asked me if I wanted to go for breakfast, so we did. And then she took me to this bookshop, and we went to like the kitchen town area, where I got this like set of kind of, you can create your own plastic ice cream thing. She took me to this tall tower, and she was like scolding me in the metro for not speaking too loudly and stuff. Yeah. So I was just kind of, every day as a flight attendant was just such an experience and such an adventure, and I would really lean into that. And I think it was really during that time that I started to kind of carve this out as a way of like expressing myself creatively and just like seeing where my interests lie on any given day and just kind of going with them and just letting go and seeing what happens. So I think that was kind of where I first started really indulging in that, I suppose, and letting myself be guided by just like a spark. And yeah, it was just the best time. After 2 years, I had told myself I would quit after 2 years because I was like, I don't want to get stuck here. I don't want to spend the rest of my days as a flight attendant. After all, I had already studied, done my undergrad, and I wanted to kind of put that to use. At the time, I felt like it was important to kind of prove myself to the world that I could be more than just a flight attendant in the skies. I think differently about these things now, but yeah, at the time, I set myself this deadline, 2 years, no more. So then I quit with a very heavy heart. I was very sad. I missed it so much. But at the same time, I wasn't really ready to go back to this prospect of working in journalism full time. Just because it still kind of scared me. I had a bit of like whiplash from this like stressful experience of churning out these articles and never really feeling quite happy with them. So I thought I would just take myself back to school. And because I was really interested in this visual side of journalism, with like infographics and data visualizations, I started looking into data journalism programs, and I found one in London, Goldsmiths, which I applied to and got in. So that's what brought me to London in 2017, I believe. So I came to London very excited for my next big adventure, my next chapter. But it was brutal. Like, I had a horrible time. I really, really hated it here. I was broke. Like, I failed to register that once I stopped working as a flight attendant, I would no longer have any money coming in. So that was just like a bit of a realization that hit me each month that passed. And I was trying to find a job here, just like working in catering, as I had sometimes done back in Switzerland, or at a pub, or anywhere really. But it was just really tough because the minimum wage here was so low. And then just like housing was difficult, expensive, and cold. We would heat the flat for like an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and I was just like, what is this? It's it's freezing. The windows are blowing cold air in. And like, how do people live like this? What is this? I just couldn't really understand. And I didn't really have many friends. It was massive. I had become accustomed to thinking Zurich was a city when I was hit with London, which is like, has about the population of the entirety of Switzerland in comparison. So just very different scales here. And yeah, I was really struggling. And I don't know where I was going with this, just that I hated it. I also tried working in journalism here in the UK, which was also horrible. It was kind of like the final nail in that coffin that I didn't want to be a journalist. I was working at the Metro on the social media desk, writing captions for like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter for just all the articles, and it was just all this nonsense, and it was just a really weird environment in that office, and I think back and my skin crawls. Anyway, at some point, my friend Katie, who was working at Flourish at the time, sent me a message saying there's a job going in customer support at Flourish. It's probably not what you want to do, but maybe apply. Like, I don't think you're happy where you are, and I was not. So I applied, and I did not expect to love it as much as I did. But like, I never thought that I would enjoy something like customer service, but I really, really liked it. I think because Flourish is like a data visualization tool, and that was really related to what I had studied, I was just very excited to be getting hands-on with these tools that I had just kind of learned about. And I just realized I really love solving problems and like making things work for people. Like when they get stuck, if I can then kind of go in and find a solution, I just feel this sense of like, yes, I did it. And it's not exactly creative in the way that maybe journalism is, because you're kind of crafting these worlds in the articles that you're writing. But that actually gave me a lot of freedom. Like I no longer felt this creative pressure, and that really kind of allowed me to breathe like professionally for the first time in a long time. So I was just focused on finding like elegant solutions and workarounds and responding to people and kind of getting the sense of achievement with everything that I solved and achieved. And it also kind of paid off within the team. It was a small company, and I kept getting promoted like every 6 months, and it was just like really rewarding, and I felt just so comfortable and appreciated. And I no longer felt like I had to kind of turn myself inside out for every single piece of work that I was creating. It was more like I can go to work and enjoy it, and it's not my identity. Which was like incredibly relieving, and I think I really needed that to then actually like lean into my creative side more. So like, it's not my profession, but now that it isn't my profession, I can actually enjoy it so much more, to just kind of follow my interests and my whims. So that was also like a huge moment, I think, just like realizing that sometimes it's not, the creativity shouldn't be your main profession. It's actually about creating the space to enjoy it in your free time, while still, of course, being challenged and rewarded professionally. So when I first moved to London, I think I was still kind of holding on to my old life in Switzerland. So like all my friends that I had there, some really, really good friendships, and I felt so comfortable and at home and at ease, and I just spent all my time in London missing Zurich and missing my friends, and I would kind of travel back to Zurich whenever I could. And I think it was like by keeping such a firm grip on my life there that I wasn't really giving my life here the chance to like develop in its own right, because like everything had to weigh up to the friendships that I had back home, which obviously I'd had for years. So like, it's not realistic to, I don't know, go from 0 to 100 in a new city. And yet like nothing was kind of good enough. And so I think it was only when I kind of started letting go of this expectation that London was going to be as incredible, both like, I guess, lifestyle wise and friendship wise, that I could actually start building friendships here. So it took a long time though. I made a few friends in uni. Actually, we're still friends today and like visit each other. One of them lives in Norway, and then I lived back in Switzerland for a bit, so we would often like hop around and visit each other. And so that was kind of my grounding. And then after my master's, because I really didn't like it here, I went back to Switzerland thinking that was it. But then I happened to have met my now husband, like just around the time that I was leaving. So we ended up getting married. I ended up coming back to London in 2019. And it was only when I came back that I kind of let go of this expectation that the only friendships that mattered were the ones back home in Switzerland, and just like really leaned into my new reality, which was here in London, and just started opening myself up. And, gradually you'll meet someone at a flatmate. Like, it actually, a lot of it came through flatmates. So I moved in with my husband, and he was living with like 5 other people, which was actually so nice. I never used to like the idea of living with others, or I didn't have like the best kind of cohabitation experiences, because it always felt a bit like stressful and like being in each other's space. Like, nothing horrible, but it was just never really my thing, I think. But then in this house in London, in Stoke Newington, there were like 5 to 7 people living there, and it was just so fun, because it was like every day new people were coming in and out. You're meeting new people. They're all like really creative and nice and funny. You'll go get a drink. It's someone's birthday. There was just like always something going on. And so I think it was during that time that I actually finally started building friends here. So it kind of took me until I left and came back until I really started like building friendships in London. And then it was like at one of the flatmates' birthday parties that I met some of like my current kind of friend group. We just really clicked. And there's nothing like that moment when you meet someone and you just kind of realize that you're like on the same wavelength. You're like fascinated by them. You kind of latch onto that, and there's just this feeling, and you kind of just know, like, you look at each other and you're like this is a good one, like this is gonna go places. So I had that kind of shortly after I came back to London, and that just like gave me so much energy, and it was like, I can do this, like I can build this new life in this new place, even though it's scary, even though it's not Zurich. And then I did. Yeah. People often ask me if I'm an artist, maybe because of like the way I dress or the vibes that I give off or something. And I always wonder why that is, but the truth is that I don't know if I would consider myself an artist. It's more that I'm just kind of creative in this undefined way that doesn't really fit into any boxes very neatly, because I don't really have just one craft like art or music or film that I kind of like fill my time with. It's more just like how I go through the day and what fascinates me that moment. I'll have these like little outbursts of kind of like obsession almost, where I'm like really into something, and then I focus in on it. And I do draw these little kind of hand-drawn illustrative postcards whenever I'm on holiday, and I really enjoy that. But that I wouldn't say that makes me an artist. And yet, because I often get asked if I am one, and because I'm often told that I just seem so incredibly creative, there's definitely something there, even without that kind of single craft, which is quite interesting. My friend Katie always says that I always have a prop, so like some object that is kind of accompanying me through life, and she's kind of right, and I don't know what it is, but yeah, I developed this strange fascination / obsession with objects. Usually like a short phase, or maybe up to a year or two, that I kind of have an object in my life. So it started with Bay. I actually have a tattoo of Bay as well. It's this ice cream. So Bay is a giant plastic ice cream cone that I found, borrowed from a karaoke bar in Tokyo. So I was on a layover with some friends that I had met during the kind of flying course. And one of them dared me to take the ice cream, and so I did. And then I ended up taking the ice cream with me to the capsule hotel that we were staying in, and kind of snuggling with the ice cream to fall asleep. I took the ice cream to Disneyland. I took the ice cream on the metro. I brought the ice cream back to Zurich and like took it out for picnics and to get samosas. And it was just a whole thing. And I named the ice cream Bay. My dad like replaced the Japanese plug with a Swiss one so that I could use her day to day, because it's actually a lamp. And yeah, it just kind of developed a life of its own. People would be like, where's the ice cream? I would tell them about the ice cream almost as if it were a pet or a family member. And I just was really enjoying that, just really like reveling in that silly giddiness of the ice cream. And I just kind of loved how it became my thing. And yeah, so I guess it started with that. And then there's just, prop after prop ever since. So after the ice cream, it was Mildred the Dinosaur. This was a plastic dinosaur. It's often plastic things, I've realized, weirdly. So this was in London. My sister was visiting, and we found this like toy dinosaur just like laying out by the bins, and we just felt so bad for her. It was just a poor, innocent little dino. So we rescued her, and then we were like on our way to a friend's place, and it was like hours away, and it was this really cold night, so all the tubes were like not working properly, and we were like creating this leash for Mildred with these strings that we had bought at an off-license shop, and we were like decorating it. And yeah, so then she kind of became my next prop. I was carrying her everywhere. I think I even created like an Instagram profile for her. But yeah, after Mildred came the tiny hands, I believe. Yeah, I don't have one on me right now, but they're basically these tiny hands that you can like pop onto your fingers, and then you can like play with them. And I just loved the concept. So I was at a festival in Amsterdam when I first saw a tiny hand, and it just got me, and I just needed it in my life. And so then I just started like obsessing over these tiny hands. And whenever I went to a festival after that, I would bring a bunch of them with me. I would start like handing them out to people that I liked, and they would start associating me with the tiny hand. It's always like, I like being associated with a thing, I think. Like, I don't know why. Maybe because it makes me more interesting. I don't know. Maybe because it's, something I can like lean on to have a good time. But yeah, I like made this kind of chain out of the tiny hands that I could wear to go out dancing. I bought like the tiny hands that you can basically put a tiny hand on the tiny hand, and then it's like tiny hand with tiny hand. I got some glow in the dark tiny hands. And yeah, that also kind of took a life of its own, where like so many people are sending me tiny hands now whenever they see them, or like getting me new tiny hands, like different shapes and constellations of like different like finger constellations. And then after the tiny hand came Ramon el salmon, which is also on my arm, this one. So Ramon is a fish, a salmon that I got at a conference in Gothenburg, actually on the way home from the conference. We were at the airport, me and my colleagues, and one of my colleagues spotted the fish, and she was like, I really love this stuffed animal. Yeah, it's stuffed animal, I should have mentioned. She was like way too sensible to buy this stuffed animal, so I happily swooped in to help her with my not so sensible ways, and purchased this fish, and then we named him Ramon el Salmon. I think his full name is Ramon Rios Oceano el Salmon. And then also just kind of developed from there. I started posting pictures of this fish, and people were enjoying it, and I was enjoying myself as a result. And then like another colleague, she knitted him a hat, and I took the fish to Vietnam with me and got him like a little Vietnamese hat. And he's actually not here right now, he's at the office, but he's still a staple, kind of like a little mascot of our team at work as well. And then I think the latest prop would probably be the zip tap. I don't know if it quite qualifies as a prop, but there was just like some obsessive times with the tap, where our tap at the office was broken. There was no water coming out of it for several months. And then I got the news that it was finally being repaired, and I just kind of went crazy and just started celebrating this fact. And I was just so excited, and I just made a big deal out of it at the office. And I was like hanging around the tap, watching the engineers fixing the tap and conversing with them, trying to learn all about this tap because I was just so interested in it all of a sudden. And then when we finally had it fit, we decided we would have like a ceremony with ribbon cutting, and one of my colleagues held a speech. And it was just a whole thing. And then later I went to this creativity club where you can kind of go and paint and draw. And I did a portrait of the tap to celebrate its existence. Yeah. Each of these props kind of, for me, I suppose, demonstrates a moment where I choose like fascination over not caring. So just kind of feeling this like little spark of joy and then just really leaning into it and just seeing like how far I can take this, just to get maximum enjoyment out of it and just like have a good time, I suppose. When something caught my attention, I would kind of focus on that what if and how far can I take this rather than dismissing it as silly. And that was just like a way of following my fascinations and like leaning into that creativity and that giddiness, I suppose. Because for me, those go hand in hand. Like only when you can get really silly, can you like be creative as well. At least that's how it is for me. I like to just, because that like allows me to like fully lean into something and let go. And you can just like start spitballing and having fun together. So in terms of judgment, or like whether I'm afraid of being judged by people for being too much or too different or too out there, I think I actually kind of crave that, or I kind of lean into it more. And that's also maybe part of why I do this. Because like maybe I want to be different and show people that you can experience reality in a more relaxing, creative, silly way, rather than just taking everything so seriously all the time. And I think it's just so important to like seek out those moments and lean into them, just to kind of make our day-to-day a bit more bearable, a bit more fun, a bit less serious. Like it's just can't deal with too much seriousness. I need a lot of silliness in my life to kind of get by and stay sane. So I think it's a lot that. And it's probably also to just like show people to, not take themselves too seriously. So I don't really worry about judgment. If anything, I crave it. And like, I want people to think that this is too much so that maybe they can go and just like loosen up a little and have a bit more fun. I think it's that. Like my mom is sometimes like, what are you doing? Like with the fish tattoo, or when I brought the dinosaur with me on holiday so that I could introduce the dinosaur to my niece, she's just like, Lou, like, what is with you? And I'm just like, well, I'm just so different and funny. And I guess I enjoyed that. It's maybe, almost like a little shock moment, just to shake things up a bit. I think it really depends, like in terms of friends, whether they need to be on the same level as me, like with these interests and fascinations. Like I obviously really enjoy it. I think one of my favorite qualities is that in a person is when they can just like get obsessed with a thing, like whether that's a hobby or a craft or a TV show. It doesn't really matter. But I just love like watching their fascination like take over and like give them this like energy that just kind of drives them, and just I find that really inspiring and fun to be around. So if they're kind of with me on that same wavelength, like leaning into this silliness with the props, I'm all for it. But it can also just be something else. They don't have to be like me in that sense. In fact, maybe it's fun if they're not and they're just like questioning themselves or shaking their head. Like it can kind of balance itself out. But yeah, like I definitely do like often surround myself or seek out people where I feel like they also just like have this way of perceiving the world in this kind of way that they let themselves be fascinated by everyday objects or everyday things, or maybe they're just like really into a certain craft this week and they lean into that. That is the kind of like person or behavior that I do tend to kind of try and surround myself with, just because it inspires me and gives me energy as well. But like my partner is like actually quite different to me. Like he's very like grounding and wants to be like secure and careful and cautious. And I'm just like a big risk taker, and I'm always like trying to like maximize every moment and make the most of everything, and just like go for it and not think about it and not plan too much. And then he like kind of brings me back to reality sometimes. So it can be a good balance there as well, to like not be on the same kind of type of behavior. Yeah. We are here in my home, and I'm going to be pointing out some of the things that I like in my cozy, colorful home. So over here we have my favorite and very special kind of plastic ice cream cone that is also a light. So I can switch it on here. I don't think you can see it because it's daylight now. But yeah, so I got this ice cream in Tokyo when I was a flight attendant on a layover. And I named her Bay, and I have the matching tattoo here. And yeah, we've just been inseparable. She's a core part of my home wherever I live, and I take her with me. And she always sits by the window so that she has a nice view of the street and can kind of greet people coming towards us. These are some apple labels. My parents live in Washington State in the States, and that used to be like apple country. So my mom actually used to pick apples. When she was in her 20s, she kind of went there to pick apples. And these are just some of the labels that they use to kind of whack on the apple boxes. And I just find them so beautiful, like really well designed with all these cute characters. Like this one's a blue goose. And then Chelan Beauty, that's kind of the area near where they live. So yeah, I just really like having these here. Kind of reminds me of my parents. Over here, I have all the things for my baby kitten. She's not here right now, she's upstairs. But yeah, we have her, food station, water, the latest purchase, which is a cat laptop. So I heard that cats like to kind of imitate their owners. So when I'm on my laptop, when I'm working from home, my kitten is often kind of on my laptop with me, which can be a bit difficult when I actually have to get some work done. So I ordered this cat laptop, which is called a Meowbook Pro. And it comes with a mouse and a scratch pad. And it's adorable, and I can't wait to work from home with her together. I'm going to give it a go tomorrow. This is a painting that one of my best friends, Sandra, made for me. Or actually, no, she didn't make it for me. I just bought it from like her catalog. This is actually the friend that I made a website for as well. I think it's called Young Bill Gates or something like that. And it's this kind of like mermaid boy. I just love it. And it's really fun when you light at it with like a UV light as well. It like really pops. So we have this like cat light that we can like light at it with. Yeah, one of my favorite pieces. And then this is the kind of record station of my husband. He's really into DJing and making music. So this is where he spends a lot of his time. And then we have the clock. So the clock and this was another like impulsive moment for me. I went to Rye with my husband to like celebrate our wedding anniversary, I think last year. And we went to this vintage store and I saw this clock and I was just obsessed. I couldn't stop thinking about it. We went to have like afternoon tea and I just kept talking about this clock and how I really needed this clock. And he was like, "You're insane. Like, you do not need that clock. It's very expensive and big. Where would we put it? La da da." And I needed the clock. So I went back and I got the clock and it's gorgeous. I love it. And it's also like a lamp, so you can like light it. Yeah, amazing. And then we have these like floor to ceiling bookshelves, which has always been a dream of mine to have this. So we moved in here a few months ago and I finally got my floor to ceiling bookshelf, as well as my parquet flooring, which is like another dream. So suddenly I had both my dreams fulfilled. I'm a lucky gal. So yeah, I have just a bunch of books that I'm reading, a bunch of cookbooks. This is actually the one that I'm reading at the moment. It's The Museum of Innocence by Orhan Pamuk. He won a Nobel Prize in Literature, and I picked this up on my last trip to Istanbul because there's actually a real life museum that goes with the book. So it's kind of like about this obsessive love that this guy has for this woman in Turkey. And then he ends up like collecting all these things that remind him of her and their time together. And then he kind of puts them in this museum, and it's purely fiction, but the museum exists in real life, and like you can go see these objects that are referenced in the book, and I'm just like mind blown, because it's this like beautiful combination of reality and fiction, and like what is what and does it matter, and it's just like so creative and beautiful, and I'm loving it. I'm like in my last few pages, and I'm quite upset already because I've been having a blast with this one. And yeah, lots and lots of other books. There's this one that I really enjoy, for example. It's a memoir by Lydia Yuknavich. Actually, my friend Ellen recommended this one. And it's just so beautiful. It's like a story of her life. Lots of like painful, heavy stuff, but told so beautifully. And always going back to this kind of reference to water and swimming, and just like really creating a lot of empathy and understanding, and like learning from how people go through life and deal with things. And I find it really inspiring and strong and amazing. So highly recommend The Chronology of Water. Yeah, I love reading in general. It's a very good pastime. So this painting behind me here, my friend Annie actually made this one for me for my 30th birthday. And it's kind of inspired by one of our trips that we did to Switzerland together. So we went to visit Zurich, which is where I used to live. And so this is kind of like the view from the train. So there was like a restaurant train, which blew my friend's mind. And she's an artist, and so she went away and she like recreated this experience, because it was like one of her favorite trips ever, apparently. And yeah, we just had a very special time, and I just love these like pastel colors. And 8003 is like the postcode of the part of Zurich that I used to live in. So it's like a nice little nod to my history. So yeah, it's really nice to have this big piece here, right where we eat. Yeah. More bookshelves. And then here we have another kind of ice cream, whipped cream inspired object. You can actually remove the cherry. I just adore this. My friend Yuli got me this for my birthday last year. And him and his boyfriend Samu, they found it in like a theater prop shop. And then they took all these pictures of themselves with it, like walking through Basel where they live. Almost like a photo love story, like I grew up with. And yeah, then they shipped it all the way to London from there. And I just like this massive package with this beauty arrived one day, and like, yeah, it's just gorgeous. I love things. I love beautiful things. I love like oversized things and miniature things. So this is also something that, yeah, I get kind of obsessed with these like props and things, little objects. Yeah, such as this watering can. Got her in Tokyo when I was a flight attendant on a layover. It was actually like a little girl working in the shop that sold me this. So she was adorable as she gave me my change. And yeah, this is what I use to water my plants. Adorable. Love adorable things. And then this is a poster from a Turkish film that we got at a flea market in Istanbul. And we actually watched the film. We found it on YouTube. And it's hilarious because I didn't understand a word of what they were saying. And it was very not clear what was going on. But it was good fun. Lots of like heavy Turkish drama, heated. And like great outfits. It's like an 80s film, I think. Yeah, good fun. So here in the hallway, we have this cool poster. It's a histomap. I think I saw this on like Pinterest or something some years ago. But yeah, I really liked it because, you know, I work in data visualization, and it's a nice visualization technique that kind of visualizes the different groups that were in power at any given point in history. So it's like a stream graph, which is kind of like a proportional area, stacked area chart. And like the wider the slices, so to speak, that's like the more power. So like this big one here is the Romans, and you can see how it like gets thinner. So you can kind of go and find like different cultures, different points in history. And yeah, I also just really like the colors. So it was nice to have like a little nod to data viz since that's my work. And then I have just a bunch more things on the wall. Lots and lots of pictures and paintings and prints, always way too many to possibly hang everywhere. But yeah, another one that my friend Sandra made. A picture of my parents and my grandparents at my parents' wedding. That's the house that my grandma grew up in Bir, which is where I grew up as well, in Switzerland. Sadly, it was torn down and replaced with an ice cube shaped building. That's just how it goes these days. And then this is my great grandmother. I never met her. She emigrated from Ireland to the US. So my mom grew up with her, and have a picture of her here on the wall to commemorate my personal history. And yeah, just some cool things that, like this one my friend Annie made. This is a photograph by a friend of a friend. Tara is her name. And I really like it because it shows Princess Diana and then it shows Atatürk. And it's this kind of like nice scene from hairdressers, apparently, somewhere in East London. Yeah, one of my favorites. I'd actually love to have more photography in the house. But there's still lots of space on the walls to fill, so... Here we have my Brompton. I love cycling to work when I can. Unfortunately, right now it has a flat tire and I am unskilled in fixing that. So I need to bring it to the bike shop, but I'm hoping to do that tomorrow. And then here we have a nice little thing where I collect lots of my trinkets. I love like tiny things. I just love things. So here we have, for example, a tiny hand. So this was... for a long time, a great obsession of mine. So this one's glow in the dark as well. It's very fun. And then I even have, if I can find it, a tiny hand that goes on the tiny hand. Check this out. So you can put the tiny hand on the finger of the tiny hand. How good is that? I just love that. It just tickles me, you know? It's just a good time. So this is why I like these things. They just remind me of good times, just fun times. Have this tiny little Tabasco jar. Have this funny cat that's holding a cat made out of chocolate. And I have a harmonica, which I very much wanted to learn but never did. So now it just rests on this shelf. Yeah, I also seem to have a thing for dinosaurs. They're kind of everywhere. I think they're just, yeah, beautiful, fascinating things. Ooh, and then this is my name tag from when I was a flight attendant. Best time was had. Yeah, just many more fun things here. I could go on for ages, but we shall continue into the kitchen. Yeah, so I have a bunch of stuff on the wall here as well. Like this one is some photos of breakfasts that this girl that I met at a conference, her name is Suzu, she's based in Tokyo. So she like took pictures of her breakfast and then she compiled them. And then she was selling it and I was like, that is sick. I want that. So I got it and I think it fits perfectly in the kitchen. And then we have like a faded paper bag of In-N-Out, which is a place that we used to go to when I was a kid when we were living in California for a bit. And then to go with that, I have this fairly new paper bag from Butchie's, which is actually close to the office. It's a chicken shop, and Ali, my husband, is really into chicken, so I thought this was a very good slogan for him. Chicken rules everything around me. And then this is the dessert menu from the Kronenhalle, which is like a really fancy restaurant in Zurich that we go to once a year around Christmas time with one of my best friends. And we kind of pocketed the menu at some point just because we needed something to remember it by. And I really love the view from the kitchen as well. It's like you're looking out into nature and it's so calming, even though we're in London, in the city. It's super nice. My husband does most of the cooking around here though, so I just come to get a nice view. But yeah, it's like flowering in springtime. And now I think there's like little fruits on there. I think maybe like plums or something. Very nice. And then my favorite piece of kitchen thing is my coffee machine. My Mocha Master. I love my filter coffee. I drink way too much of it. I'll just like make a big pot and I'll just make another big pot to get through the day. It just gives me such joy, like listening to it gurgle in the mornings. It's so nice. I have a little card here that instructs me on how many grams to put in because my husband says I always put too much coffee and then it's like super strong. So now I stick to his measurements. I mean, there's another paper bag. I seem to have a thing for paper bags and frames. This one is fish and chips. Oh, the original fast food. Got this one, of course, at a fish and chip shop. I don't even eat fish. I'm vegetarian. But, I mean, look at that. It's so cute. There's like a little vinegar with a face. Joyful. We're in the upstairs hallway where I have another one of my friend Annie's artworks. I actually have one of her pieces in almost every room. We actually became friends because I spotted her art in an like exhibition space some years ago, and I reached out to do a little video about her for my master's, and then we kind of struck up a friendship. And now I have a piece of art in every room. It's very nice. And I have more tiny hands here. My ever-growing collection. This is a weird like squiggly one that my friend Adam got me. It's kind of gross because it has this like sticky texture, but you know, every tiny hand is beautiful, so we appreciate them, and they live here on this shelf, along with this beautiful rock garden that my husband actually curated. As we were unpacking, he placed all the rocks that I randomly picked up, and then he placed all these little dinosaurs with them, and I just think it's beautiful. So this is the bedroom. It actually already had these lovely pink walls before we moved in, but I adore the pink walls. Very nice, very calming. And this is my little bestie, Simit. She's my little kitten, my daughter. I love her. Come say hello. We've had her for like a month now, and I love her so much. It's actually been my lifelong dream to have a cat, and finally it's happened, and I just can't quite believe my luck. It's simple, you know. Love the wooden floors and the built-in closets. Feels like a real luxury in London. Somehow in our past flats we never really had much storage space at all, so this is like quite the upgrade, and it's really nice. This is their office. It's a little bit of a mess now, I apologize, but it's actually mostly my husband that works in here, and he has all his music gear here as well, so he likes to like DJ and make music, so I think he must have been just in here a moment ago. And then we have this cool like poster on the wall as well that's also like covering the history of acid house, like the genre. So it has like all the different clubs that were important kind of in the scene and like how they relate to each other. And it was done by this really cool design studio, I suppose, called Dorothy in Liverpool. So my friend Annie was actually doing an exhibition there, which is when I learned about them and saw this really cool print. So I just had to get it for Ali. We have these posters from the Tramburg Festival, which is a festival that some friends organized each year near Berlin. And Ali, my husband, he played at almost every one of them, if not every. So we have some of the posters to remember it by. And yeah, just more plants and things everywhere. There's also this mosaic that I just took down from the shelf that I actually made myself. It shows my bay, so my ice cream, the plastic one that I got in Tokyo. So yeah, it is a common thread through my life and my possessions. So I just, when I went to a mosaics course, I went like, I don't know, for half a year, every Tuesday or something. Of course, it had to be an ice cream. And yeah, that was super fun. I'd actually love to do more of this sort of stuff. So this is our terrace, our lovely little bit of greenery. I love sitting out here on like the lounge chair in the morning, reading a book and having my coffee, just like surrounded by my herbs and lots of buzzing bees. I have my tomato plants. And yeah, it's just so nice. We have like sun all day here. So I'm trying to get a bit of a tan this year to prove to the world and myself that I am capable of having a tan, because I'm quite a pale person. And this terrace is a very good spot to work on that. So just how I like to kind of follow my fascinations for whatever I'm into any given week, month, year. I like to kind of let a similar principle kind of guide how I celebrate my birthdays each year. So I'll usually kind of have one idea, and then I'll like really latch onto that and lean into that and try and just make the most out of that idea and like create this really fun experience for everyone so that it becomes something really special. Because my birthday's in November, which is always a very dark and dreary time, and it's kind of that icky time, like the leaves have already mostly fallen, it's dark, it's foggy, everything reminds you of decay and death, at least me. And so I try and counterbalance that with just some fun times, some silly times around my birthday. So my birthday's on November 13th, and I think it's only been a few years now that I've really kind of leaned into this like fun times at my birthday thing. But I think in 2022, I rented a place in Margate, went to the seaside in November with a bunch of friends, and we went to one of the biggest Wetherspoons in the country, and it was kind of just like escaping London, like doing something a bit different, doing more than just going to the pub. And then in 2023, I thought I would turn it up a notch, and I organized like a scavenger hunt about myself for my birthday. So I used this app called Goose Chase, where you can like configure questions, and they can be kind of questions with answers. They can be like geolocation check-in type questions, or they can be questions where you have to submit a photo in order to kind of get the next clue. And I just like organized it all around central London about things that like I enjoyed, or that kind of had to do with my history, or my experience or my interests. So that was really fun. And then last year, I don't really know what made me decide to do this, but it was definitely the best by far. I decided to rent a castle in Belgium and organize a potato salad making contest. So the potato salad kind of came after the castle idea. I just thought it would be awesome to rent a castle. Again, it's this like dark and depressing time. Let's get everyone together and just like have a really fun time. Do something special, get out of London. And a friend of a friend had this spreadsheet of locations that they've rented in before for kind of like a similar like mini festival type thing in France and Belgium. So I found this amazing castle kind of in the middle of nowhere. We drove there, and it was snowing, and it was beautiful. I had like 40 friends that came. It was really, really nice, this like insane turnout. And I decided to make organize a potato salad making contest, because a few years before I had been at another festival in Germany that some friends organized called Hamburg, and we were at this local German cafe enjoying a potato salad when we noticed that there were grapes and like quark in the potato salad, which was just crazy. Like, I've never seen that in a potato salad before. So I was like, wow, I can't believe they're putting these grapes and this quark in their potato salad. And then we just got chatting about how every culture and every person has their own special ingredient. And then that's like this idea kind of took place in my head. And I was like, I want to do something with that someday. Originally, I thought I could actually organize a workshop at this festival where I would like bring all the ingredients, and people would like make their potato salads and then share their significance with each other. So one year I even brought like a big bag of potatoes, but I ended up just handing out potatoes to people in the crowd, so that, just sort of the idea was there, but I didn't really execute anything other than handing out potatoes. So then when I had booked this castle for my birthday, I was like, oh my gosh, I have the perfect kind of group activity. I can finally do this potato salad making contest that I've always dreamt of organizing. And it was so good. So we had like 6 groups participating, all with very different potato salads. One of them made like a New Zealand potato salad from their mother's cookbook, with like a special purple potato salad, which is called a kumara, and it had like orange in it. Then there was like a classic grandma style potato salad. One of the potato salads was actually more of like a roast potato dish. One of the potato salads had like tahini and pomegranate seeds, and it was like crazy. And I think that was actually the winner. And it wasn't even because of the potato salad, but because the group that made that potato salad just did such a fantastic job of like the presentation. So they did this little kind of skit where they introduced the potato salad with this like fantasy backstory. And yeah, it was just hilarious. And it was just so great. And I loved every moment of this castle, and the potato salad making contest was definitely a highlight. And yeah, it was just glorious. So I just really love like having an idea and then leaning into it, going through with it, like really giving it my all to create this like amazing experience where people can come together and just have a nice time and just be a bit silly. I would love to do another castle-like thing for my birthday this year, but the time is just running away from me. So I don't really know if I'm going to get around to it, but I really want to. So it kind of depends. But yeah, everyone had a great time and everyone said, let's do it again. So I'd like to make that happen, but I don't want to pressure myself too much. And I don't have any immediate other kind of fun events that I'm planning either. But another one that I did like fairly recently organize was my husband's British ceremony. So like he became British, I think about last year. And I celebrated by organizing like a British garden party where we had the Pims and the afternoon tea type sandwich thingies and scones and just all that over the top British fare. And one of my friends actually had the idea of like having a little creativity station where everyone could draw a packet of a British crisp brand. And so everyone was just sitting and drawing. It was just so wholesome and cute. And we ended up with these like 20 drawings, amazing drawings of these like different crisp packets. And I never realized like the variety in the British crisp market is just amazing. So yeah, it's like you wouldn't get these things, these beautiful artifacts and moments if you didn't kind of put the time into organizing these moments of being able to come together and like create something special. So yeah, it does pay off. What I've realized is that people like to think about creativity as something that kind of fits into neat little boxes. Or I don't know if people really think this, but I like to think that people think this. So it's like, you know, you are into art, you're into music, you're into film. But yeah, for me, it's like none of those things. Like I obviously like all of those things, but not one of them is like my passion and like my thing. It's more just like a feeling that kind of weaves itself through my everyday life and just like the way that I try and experience the world, the way that I try and interact with people and just be open, the way that I like fixate on little objects just to kind of make my day a bit more fun, the way that I try and organize these like special moments for people to come together and like make meaningful connections or just like create new things and like experience something new. It's kind of all of that for me kind of constitutes my version of creativity. Yeah, it's really beautiful and freeing kind of when you remove this like expectation that you have to go and create something amazing. It's really just about how you experience the world and how you see the world and how you interact with the world that can be creative as well. And I've like started to accept that and celebrate that, and it's so nice that I no longer create this pressure for myself. And yeah, I really encourage everyone to do the same. It's not like there's no pressure and everyone can just be creative by just like opening their eyes to the world and like following their little fascinations and just being interested and then just seeing where that takes you rather than being afraid and shying away from it because it's like not normal or it's not good to stand out or to be different. But yeah, just see where it takes you. Yeah, so when I was a flight attendant, I obviously traveled a lot for work, but each of my trips was quite fragmented. So I really got used to traveling in like the how do I do the most possible in the least possible, that makes no sense, in the least amount of time. How do I pack as much as I can in? So that kind of was my way to go about travel for the longest time. So I was like more of like a city trip kind of person than the kind of person that would go to the beach and relax and read a book, because it was never like I would never allow myself to just relax. It was like I have to go, go, go all the time. So that's shifted a bit since I stopped flying for a job. I try and actually like take it a bit slower and actually enjoy my time and look around and like indulge in the small moments as well. And yeah, like read a nice book or do my little drawings, or I've started journaling a bit more while I'm on holiday. And it's just so nice to like take that time. So that's something that I recently got into, is like drawing or like illustrating, I guess, doodling. I found this like little kind of postcard block where you can tear out the individual pages, and each day, I think I started this on my holiday in Italy a year or two ago. So each day I would kind of challenge myself to draw one kind of scene or object or place that I had seen that day from my holiday, and I would just sit down for like an hour or so and copy it down from an image. So it was never like from my mental image, but always from an image on my phone. And I actually just found it so relaxing and so calming and so fun, and such a nice way to also like actually realize what's around you and like really lean into the detail. Like as you're kind of zooming in on the picture on your phone, you're like paying attention to like the individual stones, or like the way that like the leaves of a flower grow or something. Like you start like seeing all the shapes within the shapes, and it just like makes you appreciate things way more, and also like makes you calm right down because you're like zooming into something so much. So yeah, I really discovered that for me like in the last year or two. And so I've just continued doing that. So I went to Mexico earlier this year with my husband, and every day I would draw my little postcard. So from every place that we visited, I would like find kind of just like one picture that I really liked on my phone, and then I would sit down and draw that, just black and white. And then I sent those all to a bunch of friends and family, and it's really sweet because loads of them like framed them and hung them up, and I get so much positive feedback, and everyone's like, "You're really good." And my mom's like, I didn't even know that you were like this, so artistic, Lou. I didn't even know that you could draw," because my sister was always the one that was like the artist in the family. And yeah, I think it's only because I kind of removed this pressure of like having to be good in the first place. It's really more about just like enjoying and savoring the moment and like processing it as well. So it doesn't even matter if they're good. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it does not. And yet people think they are good. Like just yesterday, I gave one to my friend for his birthday, from my latest trip from Istanbul, which is this trip that I do every year with one of my friends. I'll go into that later. But I gave it to my friend, and I got like various people saw it because he put it on the fridge, and they were just like, "Wow, who drew this? This is amazing. This is so good. This is incredible. You're an artist, da da da." And I'm just like, "What? How? This is crazy. This is not what I expected." And I don't even think they're that good, but yeah, like go figure. I don't know. It's nice. Just based on those pictures, I would never have the courage maybe to say I'm an artist. But like now on my most recent trip in Turkey, I was also often at the beach with my friend, and I was like drawing my little postcards, and then she would tell the waiters of the beach club that we were at, like, "Yeah, my friend is an artist. Do you want to look at her pictures?" I would just be like, "I'm not. What are you saying?" And then sometimes I would play along, and that also opened up beautiful situations. Like one of the guys at the beach club then ended up showing me his song lyrics that he was writing, because he was like, "Oh, it's a fellow artist, so let's like indulge in each other's creativity." And then I got to like review his song lyrics, and it was all this like really deep emotional stuff, but it was like really beautiful, and I wouldn't have been able to see that if I hadn't been drawing at the beach. So it's like creativity inspires creativity and connects creativity, and then you get more creativity, and it's just beautiful. It's just a never-ending cycle of abundance and beauty. And yeah, this trip to Istanbul is one of my favorites. I've been doing it since 2016. So I was actually a flight attendant at the time when I started. But I was supposed to go with like a couple of different friends. And so two of our friends, they kind of dropped out. They no longer felt comfortable to go on this trip. And then me and my friend Melina, we were like, "Oh, it's probably the safest time to go at all. Let's just go anyway." And everything was super cheap as well, I think because they were really struggling with tourism. So we went, and we just had the best time. And we've just been going back ever since 2016. So this is like a trip I do every year. Next year's our 10-year anniversary, and we always kind of do a similar amount of things. We have our little traditions, we have our little spots that we like to go, and my husband's always making fun of me. He's like, how can you always go to the same place and like do the same things? But I just love it so much, and it just, there's something new every time to discover, and it's just so nice as well to like go back to a place and not feel that pressure of like having to do as much as you can in a day, but actually just being like, you know what, I've been here every year since 2016. I'm going to continue coming for as long as I can. And so like I can just live into the day and see what happens, and sit in a beautiful cafe and watch the people walk by and just see where the day will take me. So that is just like such a beautiful way of traveling, and I love it so much. And like, yeah, it was just, once again, I just got back actually like 2 weeks ago. It was just like the best time. I loved every moment. We were just being silly together all the time, chatting it up with strangers like all day long, and just like seeing where the day takes us. And it was just glorious. So yeah, I'm still a big traveler. I always run out of holidays. I always have to get like extra holiday, which I'm very lucky I can do through work. But yes, it's still never enough. I like to explore. I like to travel. It's kind of in my DNA, as they say. Someone called us I don't know the English word, migratory bird. In German, it's like Zugvogel. Like a family friend was saying that we're all migratory birds in my family, because we kind of have lived in lots of different places, and you know, my parents are there, I'm here, my sister's in Switzerland. Yeah, there's just that itch, the itch that must be scratched. So when I think back at kind of the struggles, the difficulties along my way that I've encountered, like how I wasn't really having a good time working in journalism, or how I really, really hated my time in London in the beginning, when I look at it now, it's like I still have both of those things in my life. Like I still work for this company that is heavily used by journalists, and lots of my friends are journalists, and I still have this like big appreciation for that kind of field and fascination as well. But I've been able to kind of like let go of that pressure and that stressful like expectation towards myself that I had on that topic, because I've been able to like lean into my job now, which is a bit more removed and just like allows me to relax and just like have a nice time. And then it's also allowed me to like make space in my mind for just enjoying life and enjoying creativity, and just like living with a bit more of an open mind, rather than pressuring myself to like create and to be really good. So that's like really allowed me to kind of come full circle on that whole journalism thing. And then similarly with London, like I had a very bad relationship with this city when I first moved here, and now I've lived here for like, I don't know, 6 years, and we recently bought a house here, which is like quite the commitment to a city, and I feel very like grateful that I was even in a position to be able to do that. That is not something that I ever saw on the cards for myself. But yeah, I feel like I love it actually now here. I love London, and I love London more with each year that passes. Like this spring, for the first time, I was just walking around somewhere, and I was just admiring like the beautiful houses and the beautiful flowers, and like breathing the air, even though it's notoriously polluted. But on that day, it just felt very fresh and fragrant. And I was just realizing how I was like finally happy here, and how sometimes it just like really takes time, and it really takes like a lot of like building stability for yourself, like whether that's through your work or through building your home so that you feel comfortable, or like finding the right part of the city, and just like again removing those expectations of like having to like I guess necessarily achieve something great, or like wrap your head around the entire city, that I was finally able to like relax into it and just have a nice time. So it's been a really nice journey, just finding my way despite these setbacks, and finding positive ways of looking at things and relaxing a bit into the situation, without stressing too much about like where things are going, or where life is taking me, but like really just kind of trying to focus on every day as a new thing and enjoying it, with all of its like wondrous little moments of joy. So something that I've recently, or I've always been interested in coding and kind of the intersection of creativity and coding. So this is also what kind of drew me to my current job. I'm not an engineer or a developer there, but I'm very interested in it, and I love working closely with developers. And so in my free time, I've been trying to kind of learn things in my own time or explore new projects. So I create like websites for my friends. So one of my best friends, she's an artist, and I created like a portfolio website for her. And she's also in a band, so I created a website for her band. And then recently, someone actually saw her portfolio website, and he really liked it, and he was asked to be put in touch with me. And so now I'm creating a website for him. And I'm really, really enjoying this because it's like a really nice creative outlet that has like a very clear beginning and end, unlike my job where it's just kind of never ending. Like we could, yeah. So I like having these like little individual projects where I can create kind of like one finished product, and also like explore new techniques, new ideas, and just like have a think about how I want to make something come to life, and then also teach myself the like codey bits along the way. So I'm really enjoying that, and I hope to be able to do more of it in the future. And you are welcome to check out some of my work on my portfolio website or on my Instagram. And I will also try and upload some of my illustrations in either of those places so that you can check those out as well. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe to this channel to follow similar stories or very different stories about all the different shapes that creativity can take. And thank you so much for listening and for making it until here. It's been really nice to be able to share my story with you. Thank you so much.